Nice job, y'all. I love that you enjoy speaking with each other as we prepare to gather for worship. Buenos días. Good morning. Bienvenidos a la Congregación Unitariana Universalista de Asheville. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Asheville. Soy la reverenda Claudia Jiménez y trabajo en esta congregación como ministra de desarrollo de la fe. I'm Reverend Claudia Jiménez, and I serve this congregation as minister of faith formation. Queremos que sepan, we want you to know, feligres o visitante, congregant or visitor. Queremos que sepa que quien quiera que seas, we want you to know that whoever you are, de donde quiera que vengas, wherever you come from, a quien quiera que ames, whoever you love, estés donde estés en el camino de explorar quién eres, wherever you are on the journey of becoming who you are meant to be, eres bienvenida aquí. You are welcome here. Eres valiose e digne de amor. You are valuable and worthy of love. This morning, we are grateful for our worship team. We have Dr. Les, our music director, Bernise Lynch, our worship associate, and Rob Folsom at the tech deck. So welcome, bienvenidos. Let us prepare for worship this morning with our centering music.
Good morning. I'm going to share the words of Reverend Kim Mason. We come from many places, along different paths, bringing different truths. We come with different histories and different realities, and yet we come together as one people, and with faith that we can use our differences to heal ourselves and each other to bring wholeness to a fractured world. We come seeking to find community, to find acceptance of who we are. In this place, we may find others who are much like us and others who are much different. May our lit chalice remind us that we are a people taught by different stories with many voices, but always one people working for a world where love creates justice and justice gives birth to peace.
And before we sing our first hymn together, I want to just give a special thank you to all of you who were delegates this year at our General Assembly. Were any of you? I see one hand. And if you are visiting, this year we had our General Assembly online and we made some changes to our bylaws. And as you can imagine, in any organization, in any community, changes and change are hard and they're difficult. And at our assembly, we voted to change the part of our bylaws that used to have a list of principles, which we still embrace, and has shifted to elaborating on our values, the things that we value: justice, equity, pluralism, transformation, interdependence, and generosity. And all of that is grounded in love. Not in the I love chocolate kind of love, but in unconditional love, right? That allows us to have grace with one another. And so in honor of that change, I would like to invite us to rise in body or spirit and sing hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us. And there is an additional verse, so if you're following in the hymnal, don't get confused and just look at the screens. Let us join our voices in song this morning. Indeed, beloved, love will guide us through the hard night, because there is so much going on in the world, and we need to remain grounded and centered in love. And now, because this is band book summer, we are going to sing our children and youth out to their classes, and we want to invite any parents that might be visiting to go out to the Sandberg Hall with the children and figure out where they will be and where you can pick them up. So let us once again join our voices in singing our children to band book summer. And on this, our Sabbath morning, we take time in the center of our service to make room for prayer, meditation, or reflection, whatever your practice may be. And we will begin with a prayer, so I invite you to take a few deep breaths, to settle your body, feel the floor under your feet. Close your eyes or lower your gaze and prepare for a time of reflection followed by silence. Our prayer this morning is written by Reverend Liz Weber. Spirit of life, help us to be present with all that is our life, both our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys, so that we can truly live, engaging fully in our own life and in our community. Spirit of community, help us know how linked we are, how each one of our cares touches us all. Help us to ask for support when we need it, and offer our support to others when we are able, so that we may rest in the solace of one another's love. Spirit of love, help us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, so that we might fully embody love and resist hatred. Spirit of resistance, help us to stick up for what is right, even when we are tired or afraid. Help us to dream of the world as it should be and act to bring that world about. Help us to find hope each day. Spirit of hope, help us through this day and each day. Help us to be present for all that is our life. For all this we pray. Amen and blessed be. Let us share a moment of silence. And now is the time in our service when we share in a ritual of stones and water. And this ritual invites us to consider that in life, it's really a both and. There is sadness and fear and illness and grief, and we represent those by adding salt to our water. And alongside that possibility, there is also beauty. And these petals represent the beauty of nature, the beauty of love, the beauty of community and growth and transformation. And so as you think of what you carry in your hearts this morning, in the witness of this community of love, I invite you to walk forward and take a stone and then come around and go back to your seat as you reflect on that which brings you joy or sorrow. And if there is anyone who would like for me to put a stone for you in the water, please raise your hand and I will gladly do so. Let us begin our ritual. For all the joys and another for all the sorrows that remain in our hearts and are in the hearts of those who are watching online. May we know that we are a community together or apart. We are always one. May it always be so.
Our reading this morning is from The Goal of World Community with Peace, Liberty, and Justice for All, written by the Reverend Sean Parker Dennison, Developmental Minister of Rogue Valley UU Fellowship in Ashland, Oregon, and co-founder of Trust, an organization for transgender ministers and religious professionals in the Unitarian Universalist Association. Healing the world cannot be done quickly. In fact, may never be done. Justice will always be in process, and our work will always be needed to create and sustain it. We, like generations before us and generations to come, will have to keep working. If giving body and form to universal justice really is what is holy, I'm glad there is more to be done. Our congregations and our own lives will be made more meaningful and enriched as we work for justice for all people. Our congregations are schools for our spirits, where we learn that by serving this vision of justice, we make our own lives holy. Congregations are schools for our spirits, where we face a broken world and know we can help heal it. And we don't have to do it alone. A world of perfect peace, freedom, and justice may be an idealistic dream, yet let's not give up on it. Every effort we make to improve ourselves and our communities makes the world a better place, and it makes our lives better too.
When I wake up in America, I see my neighbors there with every type of clothes and shoes, hats and skin and hair, every fine belief and custom. Scores of songs from who knows where. When I wake up in America, our stories fill the air. Wake up, despierta. Wake up, despierta. Wake up in America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, I see the kids playing, happily swaying. It's good to be staying in a place like this, with a face like this. When I wake up in America, I put away my fear, and I love my neighbor as myself. And I say, I'm glad that you're here. We have found ourselves together in a land we dream could be. When we wake up in America, open harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, when you wake up, when we wake up in America.
So I chose this song this morning because it's a tribute to the moral imagination, to our being able to dream the America that we want to wake up in, that sometimes in the present it is hard to wake up in. So today I'm inviting us to think of possibility. And my sermon is entitled Postcarding and Beyond. Does everybody know what I mean when I'm talking about postcarding? Yeah, I think most of you do when we send postcards to get people out to vote. So an imam, a Quaker, a rabbi, and a UU minister walk into a polling place in November. This is not a joke, but if you can come up with a good punchline, see me after service, please. The point, perhaps, is that the outcome of this year's elections depends on turnout from all sectors of society, and faith communities have an important role to play. And I know that as UUs, we are really strong on this idea and this concept that is important of separation of church and state. Right? We don't want to live in a theocracy. However, we also have to be real to recognize that our values inform how we vote. So for example, when I served on my school board, I was voted by my community to represent them. But when on our school board, we had votes that were anti-trans kids, or votes that were discriminatory to our black students, even though maybe that was the sentiment of my community, my faith and my values as a Unitarian Universalist led me to vote where my moral compass was. So do you see the difference? So even though we don't want a theocracy, it is our faith and it is our values that propel our votes. We can't impose them on other people, but if we live our lives so that we walk that talk of our faith, maybe others will be curious and say, hey, where do you go to church? Because sometimes people do walk into this space because they have heard about Unitarian Universalism and they have heard about the work that we are trying to do for justice in the world. So in March, a small group of UUs gathered in Sandberg Hall for the virtual launch of UU the Vote, a UUA, Unitarian Universalist Association, sponsored public justice campaign that seeks to expand and protect democracy by mobilizing voters. One of the speakers was Reverend Lisa Garcia Sampson, who is the executive director of the UU Justice Ministry here in North Carolina. And Lisa talked to us about the importance of showing up, not just with fellow UUs, but with neighbors and other justice seekers to support the democratic process and advance our principles and values. And she talked about the many opportunities of engagement, and one of the things that she said that really stayed with me was that postcarding is just the appetizer, that we need to follow up with the main meal. And I will be sharing some of those menu items later in our sermon. But I want to take a moment to talk about what some of us may be experiencing today, which is deep concern about the upcoming elections. Our democracy, indeed democracy worldwide, is threatened by those working to undermine the electoral process, not just by denying the election, but through legislation that creates barriers for voters' access to the ballot, through gerrymandering to limit opposing parties' representation, through attacks on and politicization of the election administration to undermine trust in the process, through constant and widespread misinformation, AKA lies, and through embracing conservative religious values and religious frames that support undermining civil liberties for women, LGBTQ+ people, and other marginalized communities. So yes, the 2024 election is critical for the many issues that affect each of us so deeply and profoundly. And, because there's always an and, because there's always hope, right? And it is also an opportunity for collective action, an opportunity to create and deepen relationships that will sustain us now and in the future, regardless of the outcome in November. And so here's an example of what that engagement can look like. Currently, our UU the Vote team is working with representatives from Carolina Jews for Justice, Congregation Beth Hatafila, and Quaker Call North Carolina. We are building relationship with each other and magnifying our outreach across theologies. We are working to recruit other faith communities, and because we're tired of listing all the congregations that we work with, we've named ourselves IVAN, Interfaith Voting Action Network. Now, we do not know what the outcome of the elections will be. Either way, there will be work to do. But I take solace in the words of theologian and historian Diana Butler Bass, who wrote in a recent blog, what if we embrace the idea that democracy is a communal project? Together, we are writing a long history of justice, liberty, and equality. Each chapter in the story matters, but the whole isn't written by a single event, by a single leader, or a single election. Not a single vote, not a single leader, not a single election. Bass invites us to take the long-term view and recognize that this is communal work, that we are voting for leaders who will support the values we want to see in the world: justice, equity, interdependence, flourishing for all, capital A-L-L, all. If our congregations are schools for the Spirit, as described in our reading this morning, we can face the long-term view grounded in our values, grounded in our spiritual practices, and grounded in the relationships that we have with each other and in our communities. It is in religious community where we can be vulnerable and explore how to remain faithful in the face of our fears. Now, remaining faithful was a theme in this year's congregational read. Does anybody know what that was? How we ended racism. Did anybody read it? If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. The author, and I'll just do a little aside, because one of the reasons why I chose that hymn today was because after and during reading that book, I really loved the premise that they begin with how we ended racism, and they look back at what did we do today in the present so that that could happen. And so that song made me think of we wake up in America where all are thriving because of the things that we are doing today. And that is a wonderful reframing that moves away from this struggle, as opposed to we have a vision, we have an imagination that it can happen, and we ground ourselves in that. And so there was a lot of juiciness in that book, and if you haven't read it, it's a workbook. It's not just read. It's really asking us to go deep about what we think and we believe in our biases. So I recommend it. We will be working on it next year. Starting in October, we'll do a monthly discussion about the book. So summer reading, that could be it. So in the book, the authors discuss that both fear and faith require us to believe in something we cannot see and hasn't happened yet. And their understanding of faith, they define it as confidence or trust in someone or something. And they emphasize that faith promises that your circumstances do not limit your possibilities. So when facing challenges, think about it, a fearful culture, if we're working out of fear, we will perpetuate more fear and separation. But in a culture that has faith, the unsurmountable can be overcome. There is a possibility of transformation even in the most challenging circumstances. People can change. Society can change. People do evolve. Society can evolve. Let's just think of our own lives and ways in which we have been transformed and evolved throughout our own lifespan. And so it's important during challenging times to hold firm to a grounding of faith that people and society can and may transform. We cannot allow hopelessness to prevail. And this calls to mind the words of Brian Stevenson, who said that hopelessness is the enemy of justice. And beloveds, justice has prevailed in the history of our nation. Think about the planning and persistence behind the successful Montgomery bus boycott that desegregated buses. It was a long haul, uncomfortable, difficult commitment, but they prevailed. Think about the suffragist movement that started in the mid-1800s and persisted until the 19th Amendment was passed in 1919. It is long-haul work, and change happens when we collectively use our time, talent, and resources so there's more justice and thriving for all. And I find this framing hopeful because honestly, I almost feel like I wrote this sermon for myself after everything that has been happening. So I invite us to consider how we will respond to our fears about the future of democracy in our country. If our congregations are schools for our spirits, can they be places where we acknowledge our fears and know that together together, we can support each other in living out our values and working toward justice. Now, the top justice priority in this congregation right now is voting access and getting out the vote in partnership with, as I mentioned earlier, you, the vote. And we know that any justice issue we care about, the climate crisis, healthcare access, public education, reproductive justice, affordable housing, and so on, are all affected by who is elected into office. And in the last election, we mailed a few thousand postcards to make sure potential voters had accurate information, especially those often overlooked, voters of the global majority, rural, and young voters. And as I mentioned earlier, postcards are just the appetizer. There is an entire meal before us. And this slide provides a QR code so you can access a grid that we have created with our partners. And I have paper copies here that you may take after service that gives you an idea of what that menu can be like. And there are 3 tiers. The first tier includes postcarding. It also includes having your own voting plan and making sure you reach out to at least 5 people that you know or more and make sure that they have a voting plan too. It also involves having conversations about voting one's values. I often find that for me, I don't like to name names. I like to talk about values, and I support people who embrace values of kindness, of compassion, of justice. So that is tier 1. Tier 2 is getting involved in direct voter registration and education, canvassing, and phone banking. And I know that some of us don't like to phone bank, but I just want to inform us, because this was news to me, that when we're trying to get out infrequent voters, research shows that a 3-pronged approach tends to be successful, and that is postcarding, calling, and texting. And so sometimes these things that may not be our favorite to do could be things that we do with friends, so we can talk about the process and just unpack that with each other. And tier 3 is doing things like being a poll watcher or a poll worker and getting involved that way. And we will be adding to this list, but I just wanted you to have an idea that there are so many ways to be involved in this process, because I really believe that this is a process where, you know, there are people that are saying, you know, I'm just not going to vote. I'm not happy with my options. But I invite us to think, you know, when people say that to me, I'm like, I just want you to consider that there may not be an option in the future, because this could be the moment. We could be the people in history under whose watch democracy took a big hit, right? Not to be alarmist, but it is real. It is real. And we need to do what we can, because it's got to be good enough, right? We do what we can, but let's do it in earnest. So that's why we say that postcarding is just the appetizer, because this time around, there is so much more that we can be doing. So I encourage you to consider digging into this menu and engaging in some of these actions with a friend, because then the dessert, if you like such things, is going to be so much sweeter after we do that. So in closing, I share a final highlight, which I'm basically reiterating because I've already said this before. So in this year's congregational read, the author invites us to imagine success and explore what we did to get there. That reframing creates tremendous agency for each of us. if we imagine our values prevailing in this election, we can think back and ask ourselves, what did we do to make it happen? How did we prevail in electing leaders that center justice and thriving for all? How would you answer that question? What did I do? What did my community do? What did we together do so that justice and democracy could prevail? Now, isn't that a better framing? Because that gives us the agency. We can do that thing now. So, friends, may we recognize that together we are writing a long story of justice, liberty, and equality. Each chapter in the story matters, but the whole is not written by one event, by one leader, or one election. May we be faithfully grounded in our values and in joyful community contribute to writing the next chapter. We can do this. I know we can. May it be so, beloveds. May it be so. So let us sing. Let us sing one of my favorite hymns, number 1028, The Fire of Commitment. May there be fire in you to make that commitment. Let us rise in body or spirit.
I'd like to invite any visitors to introduce themselves. We have microphones that will be available to you. We welcome you. There we go.
Hello, my name is
Hi.
Lynn, and this is Scott. We're here long distance from the West Coast, but we just moved to Asheville, and we're thrilled to have found you. So thank you so very much for welcoming us the way you have. So thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Nancy Deason. I just moved here as well about 10 weeks ago. Returned to my roots. I'm from Asheville, graduated from UNC Asheville, and I'm very, very happy to be back. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz. This is my wife, Sally. We're embarrassed to admit we're from Florida, and yes, our governor is an idiot. But I've been coming to Asheville and planning to move here since the early 80s, but we're working on it somewhat. But we're from Central Florida, which is known for the villages, and we were from Gainesville, UU from Gainesville, and then moved to the villages when I retired. But there is a strong Democratic group there, and we're working harder to make it even better. But our UU congregation is very small compared to this. This is lovely, and we it's a very comfortable little tiny spot of blue and a big sea of red, but it's nice to be here with such a large group of people that have our same values. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Lisa Schwartz, and after years of visiting this wonderful church, I'm so delighted to say that I finally moved to Asheville, and so yay, I found some peeps. Just moved to Asheville, and I'm so grateful that you're here. Thanks.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Amanda. You guys can call me Sam. This is my wife, Debbie. We've been living here for about 5 years, and we're from the F word as well. I was born and raised in Pensacola, Florida. Debbie is from Wheeling, West Virginia. She's got that Wheeling feeling. We worked our careers in West Palm Beach. I'm an IT tech with a degree in music. If you can't perform, then you got to go find something else to do, right? We are so happy to be here. I am a lifelong Episcopalian, and this feels right. It feels good. It feels welcoming. This is our first day, and hopefully we'll come back.
I'm Kim, moved here a week ago from New Jersey, Montclair area, New Jersey, right? UU in Montclair is very cool. Hi, someone's waving to me over there too. My daughter is set to start UNCA in August, fingers crossed. And Milo's retired. I'm working a little bit. I'm a personal trainer. Maybe I'll think of something else next time, but thank you. Glad to be here.
My name is Cindy Nelson. I'm here with my husband Dale and my sister Suzanne. And we're visiting, Dale and I are visiting here. My sister has been coming here for summers and extended time for a long time, and she lives in Sarasota, Florida. Dale and I are from Bloomington, Indiana, and members there. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hello. My first time here. I'm George Bradley, but I'm an old-time Unitarian from the Cathedral of Unitarianism, Arlington Street Church in Boston. And when I went there, Dana McLean Greeley was the minister, and of all things, he had a daughter named Faith. And she married a young man, and they became the ministers of the prestigious King's Chapel, as you probably know. So I'm in town for a while. I'm living in Woodfin with my daughter Lisa is my VA veteran caretaker. And so, wow. Hi, everybody.
Welcome, George.
Hello, my name is Linda, and I'm visiting my sister in Weaverville, and my friend Ann. Ann and I share a very tiny little congregation in Florida. Palatka, Florida, on the St. Johns River. But I'm up here just for enjoying the weekend, and wanted to attend this church, and Ann invited me to come with her, and it's pretty awesome. So thank you. And you want to say
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Ann. I'm an Asheville native, and I've lived in the F word for 40 years. But I come back, now that I'm retired, I come up here in the summers and stay at my parents' old house. So it's nice to be back, and it's good to see all of you.
Welcome. Well, I want you to know that all you use in Florida are very important. Very important. Is Trevor in here? No, no Trevor today. But we do have a welcoming table out there. And if you want to have any questions or you want some more information, please visit the welcoming table. All right. Our announcements run as slides at the beginning of the service. If you missed them, refer to Thursday's weekly e-news, as everything is described there. If you don't receive the e-news, email us at information@uuasheville.org. Our community plate recipient this month is Prison Books. You can donate by check, but be sure to write community plate in the memo line. All cash donations will be split with our community plate partner. You can also donate online. The work and ministries of this congregation are entirely supported by the generosity of our members and friends. We celebrate your generosity every Sunday with music and thanks. You make us possible, and we give thanks to you. The offering will now be gratefully collected. For the gifts of your presence, time, wisdom, and resources, we are grateful.
So I just want to say music is such an integral part of worship. And this morning when I came in, Les was practicing, and it just got me really excited to preach. So thank you, Les. And so our closing words this morning are written by Reverend Heather Ryan Starr. May whatever gatherings or activities we engage in this Sunday help restore us, our connections to one another, our sense of hope, beauty, and fun in this world, our deep knowing that we have to care for ourselves and each other with love and joy if we are to soulfully survive this world's mayhem. Can I get an amen? Amen. We can do this. So now let us rise in body or spirit and sing our closing song, which is a blessing that we offer to each other. So let us look around and bless each other as we sing. Go in peace, vayan en paz. And I see a beautiful baby over there that I want to say hello to.